Are you looking for details of the most beautiful weekend hikes in South East Queensland and further afield? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Everyday Hiker podcast. My name is Beck and I'm your host. Join me and my guest hikers as we share amazing locations, practical tips and guides for new hikers as well as those with more experience looking for some inspiration. And please, if you like what you hear, follow me, share with your friends, rate my podcast, and please send me your feedback. Hello and welcome. Today I've got a very special guest with me. I have Paul Ferry, who is the founder of the 52 Peaks Challenge. So welcome, Paul. Thanks very much for coming in.
Pleasure to be here.
I was so excited to have you in because when my friends and I really started getting into hiking as a group, we stumbled across the 22 Peaks Challenge in 2022. And you had this fabulous spreadsheet of peaks that you could try, and we downloaded it. We made our mission to tick them off. I'm going to confess it didn't really happen, all 22 of them that year, but I loved watching the photos and the progress of people. So could you please just run me through what the 52 Peaks Challenge is all about, the 22 morphing into 52?
Yeah, for sure. So it all started in 2022, which is where the 22 came from. We'd just come out of COVID. We were feeling very locked up and in need of a bit of freedom and nature and space. And so we started to explore some of the mountains down at around the main range, around Mugra. And I think what actually happened was we'd gone down to do some kayaking on Mugra Dam. And before we put the kayaks in the water, I said, why don't we have a quick run up that mountain there, which was Mount Edwards. We did so, and then we kayaked. And the whole time we were on Mugra Dam, all I could see was Mount Greville. And it just fascinated me. I was transfixed by it. And I kept saying to my partner, Annika, we have to go and climb that. We have to go and climb that. So we did, and we had no idea what we were in for. We got lost on the way up and found our way out again. And then we were back a few weekends later and we did Cordo, Bear Rock and Mitchell. And then we're like, what else can we do? And we found Maroon. So I think it was September or October when we did Maroon. And we met hikers. Every time we went out, we seemed to meet other people doing the same as we were doing. And we'd exchange the normal silly comments like, oh, not too far, there's free beer at the top, and all the silly, quirky things that you say to each other, to strangers, to make it easier to get past each other, and a smile and a wave. And on the way off Maroon, Annika had a splinter in her finger, and we stopped this guy and said, you wouldn't happen to have a first aid kit, would you? And he said, yeah, of course. Do you have any tweezers? Yeah, absolutely. So while Annika was picking the splinter out, we had a little chat. And on the way back to the car, I said to Annika, isn't it a shame that we meet all these wonderful people that have the same interests as us, but we'll never see them again, probably? And it's a bit weird to just say, oh, hi, by the way, my name's Paul. Can I get your number? Maybe we could go out for a hike sometime. It's just weird and creepy. So we just came up with the idea, well, why don't we put out a request to see if anybody else wants to join us on a challenge that we'll set for ourselves in 2022, where we would climb 22 peaks in a year, just to see if it's possible. We put the post out on the Take a Hike Queensland group, which I think had about 35 or 40,000 people on it. And within the space of a week, we had, I think, 187 positive responses. So I spent between Christmas and New Year creating the challenge based on so many people wanted to do it. By the time we got to mid-Feb, we had over 2,000. In fact, 2,022 people had joined the challenge in literally 2 months from the idea. And it just took off from there.
It has been a huge success. I can't imagine how many people are at the top of peaks every weekend saluting you to let you know that they've done it. So from my recollection, 2022, 22 peaks just really wasn't enough of a challenge, was it?
We had no idea what was possible. We thought if we did 22 peaks in a whole year, that would be a huge achievement. But we didn't even consider that you could do more than one mountain in a weekend. But once we realised there's plenty of places where you can do 2 or 3 or 4 mountains in a day. then it became possible. So at the end of that year, I think we'd done something like 45 peaks in that first year. We then decided, look, the next year, if we do this again, we should increase it. And the idea of 52 peaks, 1 peak every week, kind of sounded like a fun way to approach it. But to make it so that it wouldn't appear to be too much of a challenge, we said there's 4 levels. So you can choose stage 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that made it accessible to more people. Because if a stranger came along and looked at it and said 52 peaks in a year, no way. There's no way you can do that. Because we would have thought that in our first year too. So it's about giving people that stepping stone to realise their own potential, to realise how many mountains there are, and how the more you climb, the more you can climb, and to keep on exploring and keep on experiencing new peaks. And that was really how the whole thing evolved, was just see what you can do and just keep pushing yourself. And once you get hooked, you're hooked. And that's right. It. And there's no stopping you then.
And what a great way to get out and explore the whole South East Queensland area as well.
What a great addiction.
Yes, and I love that you introduced the levels. I remember there was discussion in the early days because Mount Cootha wasn't a peak. I think there was a local one that wasn't considered a peak, whereas there are some people that would think, geez, getting up Mount Cootha is an achievement for me, and you don't want to discount that.
I agree. We had to draw a line somewhere, though. So Wild Horse Mountain will never be on the list. Mount Cootha, I mean, you can drive to the top of it. That can't be on the list. There's plenty of peaks that are small, but still somewhat challenging.
Yeah.
Tiburawakam, for instance, right next to Tibragargan. It's only 1.6 kilometres return, but it's very steep and there's a scramble at the top and it is beautiful. So we do take suggestions from people and we consider them carefully, but if we perceive they're just not a challenge in any way, really, then we don't include them because it is called the 52 Peaks Challenge.
Yes, yeah.
So we have to try and make it challenge worthy.
And that's a good point. So back in 2021, when you were on Muggera Dam looking at these mountains, how much bushwalking and mountain climbing experience had you personally had?
Bushwalking a fair bit. Not down at the main range though. We'd done the obvious mountains, Coolum and Karora. We'd done a fair bit of bushwalking around dams and that kind of thing. We'd done lots of beach walking and scrambling on the rocks at the beaches, but we hadn't really explored the mountains. But once we found them, it was like, wow, there's a whole playground here. And I think it was also just finding that common ground with my partner, Annika. It was something that we wanted to do together that we hadn't been. We used to go for nice romantic walks on the beach, and then it was like, oh well, let's do some kayaking, and then it was, oh well, let's go and be a bit more adventurous, and then we found the mountains, and we haven't really looked back, and that's opened up the door to so many other things for us too. Yes. Rock climbing and abseiling and canyoning as well. So life just keeps on getting more and more adventurous.
That's fantastic. So let's talk about what 52 Peaks looks like today. We're now in September. Could you sign up for this year, or you've got a short amount of time, or what would you suggest if someone's listening to this and saying, I think that's a fantastic idea? How do I get involved? You've got a Facebook page for a start.
Sure, yeah. Signing up now probably would be a little bit ambitious because we are 3.5 months away from the end of the year, and the challenge starts on the 1st. Not to say that you couldn't. 1 or 2 people have signed up in the last 2 months, each month. And if you were super committed, you probably could do 52 peaks in the next 3 months. It's absolutely possible. But you'd have to be very committed. But for anybody that's listening to this and is interested, I would suggest hop onto the Facebook page, 52 Peaks Challenge. Just search for that in Facebook, or go to the website, 52peakschallenge.com, and read about the challenge so you fully understand how it all works and just the way that we do things, and get used to being in the community and seeing what people are doing in the community and how we all are supporting each other, and everyone's there for each other and sharing advice and tips and creating events. So getting into that space in the next 3 months, and then preparing yourself, and maybe do a few peaks and get some training and find some new friends to hike with in that period, and then sign up for the 1st of January. We're going to open up the doors again for next year in probably the first week of December for new registrations.
Now, there's no prize for hitting the 52 peaks. It's a bit like the ABC, or do you have a prize cupboard like them? I know Paul has got a 52 Peaks Challenge T-shirt on at the moment.
Always.
So this is about personal achievement, isn't it? That in terms of there's no real reward for it except for the reward that you've achieved this.
It's all a personal challenge, yeah. We think of it like this. You do your challenge your way. And we have 6,500 people who have joined the Facebook group in the last 4.5 or 4+ years. Some of them will participate quietly. They don't post. We have no idea who they are, but they're out there doing peaks. They're not reporting their peaks and claiming their peaks in the app or on the scoreboard. They're just doing their own thing. Some people are doing all of the official peaks, and some people are doing some of the unofficial peaks. And that's fine too. If you are a registered member and you're only doing the official peaks, then we have a tally or a scoreboard inside of an app where people can register all of their peaks, and we celebrate those peaks. When somebody gets across the line and they've finished their 52nd peak, we all celebrate. The whole community gets behind them and congratulates them on a job well done. But it's not that people are doing it for that pat on the back, because the reward is every time you go out. The reward is every time you push yourself a little bit further and get up another peak, and you see the view from the top and you get back down and you're already planning your next peak. I think the reward is all, it's inside. It's your heart, your body, your soul. That's why we do it. That's why we get addicted to it, and that's why we keep going and going and going. There's 2 people that have just crossed the 52 peaks finisher line in the last week. I think they did last weekend, and this is their 4th year in a row. They joined in the first year, and like us, they haven't stopped. It's a lifestyle thing now. It's just what they do, and there's plenty of people like that. They've been there from the start, and they just keep doing it year after year after year after year. And I think that's just the most amazing thing.
It is. It's fantastic. Any thoughts of going global, taking it outside of sort of the Queensland arena? And I think you did have some interstate peaks unofficially.
The problem with that, a lot of people have asked that, and we've considered that, but the amount of work that went into just researching and documenting all of the statistics for all of the peaks inside of Australia alone is huge. The administration of this, imagine logging and registering all the stats and creating 3D maps for every mountain in every country. It's just not possible. You also need, for all of that work, somebody to administer all of the Facebook and the monthly roundups and all that kind of stuff. It's just a huge amount of work, and this isn't a business, it's just a passion project. We don't get paid for this. We do charge a small fee for the registered users to go towards the manufacture and distribution of the T-shirts, and also the hosting costs and all of the other admin costs and whatever that we do. But it never makes money. It's not designed for that. It costs me money.
Yeah.
But the money that it costs me is worthwhile, because the payoff that I get is knowing that this changes lives in a really, really positive way. And I know that for a fact, because every year people write testimonials when they finish their 52nd peak. They write these amazing notes, letters, emails and messages on Facebook to say, thank you so much for this challenge. It's completely transformed my life. That's my payoff. And I'm happy to pay for that.
That's fantastic. And you've got 6,500 new friends to boot as well. So
absolutely. We only wanted 10 friends to hike with. We've now got 6,500. So who couldn't be happier,
Do you get many saluting you on the trail?
The salute, the origin of the salute is you're not saluting me, you're not saluting Annika. The idea of the salute came from a photo that we got on one of our very early hikes, and it was Annika just shielding her eyes from the sun and looking at, what's that peak over there? Shall we go and do that one next? And when we looked at the photo, it looked like a military-style salute. So the summit salute is just looking for the next peak.
That's fantastic.
And that's why that is a thing. We do a summit salute because it's like, okay, I'm here. Now what?
Now what's next?
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. Now, I know this is a really tough question to answer for you, but if you had to pick, let's not be tough and say your favourite peak. Let's give you three. Where are the three you would most like to go back and do? And probably do regularly, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we there's a few peaks that we do on repeat every year because they're just wonderful. And Greville and Maroon are definitely in there. But I think if I had to pick three, okay, the view from the bottom, the Warrumbungles, when you drive to the Warrumbungles and you come around the corner for the first time and you see that huge ridge line open up in front of you, you can't not gasp in wonder. When you see it for the first time, it's just like, oh my God, look at that. It's incredible. So the view from the bottom, Warrumbungles. The view from the top, even though it's not the highest of the three peaks on Barney, I've always loved the view from North Ridge. From North Pinnacle. So you go up North Ridge to North Pinnacle and you get to see Maroon and May, and you get to see on the other side Montserrat and Focal Peak and all of those, and you get to see the Barney East and West, the Barney Twins. And on a clear day, it's just such a magnificent view. I absolutely love that one. Third one, I don't know. I mean, again, I think view from not the top, but near the top, Greville. Waterfall Gorge is just divine. If you can get there after heavy rain and there's water flowing through it, it's just a treat. And the view from Slab Rock, not so much the view from the top of Greville because it's surrounded by trees and there's a little lookout onto not much, but the view from Slab Rock across to Muggera Dam has a special place in my heart because that's where I absolutely fell in love with the mountains, was look from Muggera Dam looking up to Greville. So to see it from the other side is always a treat for me.
Well, next week, my next episode is talking about Mount Greville and Mount Maroon, so we'll explore them in more detail. So thank you so much for that. I also like to ask people to share about the gear, and no doubt your gear has changed over time. What are you most likely to be wearing on your feet? Boots, shoes?
Well, I have super dodgy ankles, so I always have ankle support. A lot of people just wear, low shoes.
Low-cut shoes, yeah.
That's what most people seem to be wearing. I always choose to have ankle support. So for years now, I have been wearing the La Sportiva GTX mids. I've found since they've changed the model, they're quite narrow now, and I've got broad feet. So I'm still wearing them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I love scrambling. So I think when you look at what's the best footwear, I think you've got to look at where am I going. One of the benefits of La Sportiva GTX mids or the TX4s is for vertical rock scrambling. So things like Tibrogargan and Biawar, where there's a lot of rock scrambling, you need approach shoes with a climbing zone out on the toe, and something that will give you a hard edge to stand on, smaller footholds and ledges. But if you're doing, really, really long days and overnighters, it can wear your feet out because they're not designed for that. They're not a hiking boot, they're a climbing boot. So it's really, I would absolutely suggest you have as many different boots as you need. I've got canyon boots, I've got climbing boots, I've got hiking boots, I've got trail runners. I spend so much on shoes. I've never spent so much on shoes in all my life since I got into this sport.
Absolutely, people can keep their labels. It's all about the shoes and the boots, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter which brand you choose, really. What matters is that it's appropriate for the task and that it's comfortable.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
safe.
Safe, and at the end of the day, you don't have sore feet. So,
yeah.
What about packs? What are you carrying on your back? I'm assuming as light as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Top tip. When I first started doing, like in 2022, in the first year, I remember going up Mount Barney for the first time, and I'd heard all these things like, you've got to take all this water, and you're going to take all this food, and you're going to need this, and what if the weather changes? And I don't know how much I was carrying, but it was probably 7 or 8 kgs up there. And it was a hard day because I was carrying so much weight. And I remember thinking, why have I taken all this stuff up here and brought so much of it back down unused? So the more you hike, the less you take. And you start to realize, especially if you're doing big days like I like to do, that every ounce has a price, So it's like, if I know there's water, do I need to take water like for the whole day, or can I take some water to get me to the next water and take a water filter?
Yes.
Just little things like that, how little food, like what's the best food to take so that I don't need to take too much food? What's the best hydration? Do I want water or do I want electrolytes? Those are the kinds of things. And I used to take spare clothes, and I never would wear them. You just stay hot and sweaty, and as long as you've got dry clothes in the car for when you get back, that's fine. So top tip, just work out. The more you do, the less you take. Take as little as you can get away with.
Yeah, and we talked, before we started this episode about sharing with friends too. So if you're in a group of 4, work out who's taking what.
Yeah, you don't all need a first aid kit. You don't all need the jet boil. You don't all need the teas and coffees. And I always suggest hiking with friends. I know some people love solos, and I totally admire and respect the people that do that. But I think safety in numbers and also shared load. You can all take a bit of what you need and share that load across the group. So
have you discovered the best sort of nutrient or protein dense snack that's going to beat your requirement of weighing less but getting you through the day?
Yeah, well, you want to make sure that you keep salts going in, so you can't beat salted nuts and trail mix. I tend to get a bag of salted peanuts and a bag of trail mix and mix them all together, so you've got some salt but not too much. Protein balls and, if you like meat, jerky bars, that kind of stuff is really good. Sometimes salted crackers. I know when we just did Tibro on repeat on the weekend, I took peanut butter and jam sandwiches. I would never eat that normally. We never have jam in the fridge, but I bought it because and we did Tibrogargan 20 times back to back in 23 hours. And when you understand the signs, the flags that your body is giving you, when you start to get blurry focus, it's like, okay, well, what is this telling me my body needs? When you understand those signals, you understand what you need to put in. A bag of those red frogs or snakes got me through because I completely ran out of energy on Tibrogargan. Coming down, I was taking rests 3 times on my way down Tibro. Granted, it was my 15th circuit, but I was having to stop for breaks on the way down. My whole body was jittery, like I'd just had 15 coffees. And it was just a signal that I needed some sugar. So when I got to the bottom, I had a big handful of those sour snakes, and I was ready to go again.
And it was, now you might be listening to this and thinking, what's Paul doing climbing Tibro 20 times in 24 hours? This was a challenge, and We were talking before, this was your second go at it. It's a remarkable achievement. So I was going to get to it, but let's do it now. So what happened last weekend?
I've been talking about this since 2022, that we could do some sort of an endurance event and just see what we were capable of doing. That idea happened in 2022, talking to people on Mount Cootha, of all places. Like, if you did an hour circuit around Cootha, could you do 10? Could you do 20? Could you do a 24-hour, just keep on walking? And I've been talking about it for 3.5 to 4 years, and nobody would do it with me. So December 9th, I think it was, last year, I just went, stuff it, I'm going to go on my own because nobody will come with me, and I'll just see what happens. So I started at midnight on December 9th, and I did Tibragargan 9 times back to back and got out of there, I think it was maybe 10:30, back to the car park. And it was hot and it was hard mentally as well as physically, because I was on my own through the night. But that was kind of a test run, just to see how would I feel if I did 9 or 10. Then I'd spoken to a few other people, and some of the most hardcore hikers that I know, and said, hey, I want to do a 24-hour enduro event for no other reason than just to see what we're capable of, who's with me. And everybody that I asked, some hardcore hikers, all gave me the same response, which was pretty much, oh, hell no. Oh,
crazy?
God, no way. Like, nobody was coming with me. And then I was telling another friend that I'd met more recently, towards the end of last year, about this idea, and nobody would come with me. And he said, oh, I'll do it, which completely surprised me. So I said, oh, shit, okay, well, maybe we should.
You have to do it.
And he kept prompting me, when are we going to put that date in? When are we going to put that date in? So we put a date down, and then it became real. And once it became real, a few other people jumped out of the woodwork and said, hey, can I do this with you too? So that was it. We just had a challenge to see how many times we could climb Tibragargan in a 24-hour period. And the lofty goal was 24. Let's just see if it's possible. We all did our best. We all pushed ourselves to our limits, and we all got a varied number of peaks. My tally was 20 in 23 hours. And we've discussed it since, like, if we were to do it again, how would we do it differently in order that we could complete 24?
Could get to that 24, yeah.
And we figured it out that we know how to do that now. So watch this space. It may be coming up again in the next month. We may have a second attempt. But it depends on a few things.
It's just extraordinary. Some people, including myself, climbing Mount Tibragargan once is enough, but 20
Absolutely.
times is unbelievable. There's actually a running event called Last Man Standing.
Yes.
And this is kind of hiking's version of it, right?
Funnily enough, I was thinking that literally 2 days ago. If we were to do this, why stop at 24? If the turnaround is every hour and the cutoff is the end of every hour, then you do one and you have to get back within the hour. And if you get back, then you do another one and you do another one. But as soon as you get, like if you start at midday, by 3 o'clock you have to have done 3. By 6 o'clock you have to have done 6.
That's right. You're
if you
eliminated.
miss the mark by a second, you're done.
Yeah.
You stop there. I think that would be interesting, because you then get to see how far can I push myself, not just 24 and 24, but how much further. But there is a significant difficulty around that, which is personal safety. Yeah. Because if you push yourself to that level of exhaustion, it's a lot easier to have a slip and a fall, and nobody wants that. So
yeah, exactly.
I think we'll probably just do 24 in 24, and maybe if we've still got the goods, we'll do a victory lap. Yeah. But I don't know that we'll do the last man standing version, because I just don't think it would be safe to do so.
Well, I think the most heartbreaking thing about the last man standing is, unless you are the last man, you get officially labelled a loser. And
that's so harsh.
That's really harsh.
That's so
I think the
harsh.
fact that you've attempted it, and if you've done 9, you're a winner in my eyes. So
everybody that climbed on the weekend with me when we did the 24 and 24 attempt, they're all winners, because we all pushed ourselves to our personal limits.
Exactly.
And that for me is winning. The fact that they showed up, to do this stupid thing with me, they're all winners in my mind. So
Yeah, wow, the places this challenge has taken you. Now, I'm conscious of the time, so I do like to ask, and you may have already answered it, but I do like to ask if you were standing somewhere, what is the best view, in your opinion, in South East Queensland? And I think you've given me 3 because you've said whether it's at the bottom or at the top. So let's maybe change the question for you and ask, if you were a first-time hiker and you're setting out on the 52 Peaks Challenge next year, where's the first mountain that you would attempt?
Well, I think that is very much down to your level of experience and fitness, because I think if you're very new to hiking and climbing and have an average level of fitness or a low level of fitness and low level of experience, I think you should tackle some of the easier stuff and work your way up. So around the Glasshouse Mountains, there's heaps of really, really easy peaks, and I include things like Nunu, or some people call it Gun, and Coolum, and you've got the Coochian Twins. They're easy peaks. You can't get lost. It's a great place to start. If you're already a little bit fitter and you've already done a few and you just want to explore some new mountains, and you have a good level of fitness and can use a map, then I would suggest some of my favourite peaks for starting at that level would be definitely Maroon and Mount Greville. You do need some map reading skills. You do need a level of fitness. It's a longer day, but they're so rewarding and they're such beautiful peaks, especially the view from the top of Maroon. It's a 360.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and you get to see the whole Barney Range and Montserrat and everywhere beyond. It's just wow. Yeah. And it's an incredible journey to get there. It's very varied, and there's some vertical funnels, if you like, to climb up, so you need a bit of scrambling skills, but it's all completely safe.
It is, isn't it?
It feels very safe. There's no exposure.
Safe.
You're not going to fall to your death there. Those two would be the next step up if you're getting into it.
Fantastic. Paul, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really interesting listening to you. I am going to put a link to the 52 Peaks Challenge in the show notes from today, so people who are keen to attack this in 2026, like you said, get started straight away, do some research, get ready for it. They'll know where to go. And thank you again. I look forward to seeing you out on the trails.
I look forward to seeing you in the mountains too.
Thanks very much for listening. You'll find details of the trails and locations and all the details of things we discussed today in the show notes. And don't forget, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave me feedback, suggestions or ideas. And I'd really appreciate if you like what you hear, rate me, follow me or share with your friends. Thank you, and until next time, happy hiking.